Hi, welcome to Tech Ranch, a place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. All about Java, Super and this. Today we are going to present you a session of learning all about Super and this keyword with syntaxes and lots of examples implemented in Java. Before we get into the Super and this keyword, let's first review and see what is actually inheritance. In Java, we have seen inheritance is one of the kind of concept of object-oriented programming, which is a relationship concept and it extends. Keyword will help you to inherit your parent class. We can code reuse it. We have sub, child and super parent class. Access modifiers helps to access and restrict the access of our extended classes. Object of any reference variable or methods to access it, overriding method to implement and manipulate and improvise your methods, abstract and nested classes, constructors. This is another vast topic. We are going to cover it in the next session soon. Calling superclasses method. Now we have seen inheritance is nothing but a class with some basic methods like vehicle class. It has methods, very basic methods like wheels, type, drive, brand. It might have some more integer data types and variables like price and ID, vehicle ID, registration ID. And that particular class is extended in a child class called Mercedes, which is specific and which is extended all these methods like drive and brand, and it is overridden and make it more, add more features and specific to the Mercedes class. So you can see it's a superclass and the subclass. So this is what the inheritance. Next, let's come to the super keyword. The super keyword in Java is a reference variable which is used to refer immediate parent class object. Now when we say reference variable, it's very important to understand and it's a very vast topic. We'll cover it in the next session soon. But for now, let's try to understand what is actually a reference variable. When we have a variable like integer a equals to 1, that means integer is a data type and age or a is a variable and this is equals to 20, that's a value, the data. Now internally it stored it in some random memory location which is not known to us. Now when we say about the reference variable starts like this: a reference variable, a class name, the object and the new and the reference constructor. And next again we are making an object reference and then we define a variable out of those object references. So here what is happening, instead of any specific data type, we have an object and that object has a specific data type. Now we cannot change that particular data type in that case. Now we are taking a reference. Now here we are taking a reference and pointing to that memory location where that data, the value of that variable is stored. So that is called your reference variable. In short, whenever you create the instance of subclass, an instance of parent class is created implicitly, which is referred by super reference variable. Now, when we come to the super keyword, it can be used to any object or reference or variable or method in the superclass or a parent class. Now, there are so many ways you can use it. First, you can use to refer immediate parent class instance variable. Second, you can use to invoke immediate parent class method. And the third, you can use to invoke immediate parent class constructor. Now let's take a look at the example of a vehicle superclass, which has some basic variables and methods like color and constructor, which is mentioned as a red color car. Now what is actually a constructor? In short, if we see, constructor is nothing but who is going to implicitly creating an instance whenever it being called. Java works on the classes and classes has a feature to create an instance. Now what we need to have? We need to have someone who can initially created an instance of it whenever you start. For example, if you're constructing a building, you need to have a base. Now that base, from where you are going to start the thread, we need to have an instance. We need to have a initial point. That initial point is created by a constructor, a special kind of method which is named on the class. So that particular constructor, the method, create an instance implicitly of that class, and from there the application or the Java is being initiated. So we have the class vehicle, and we have created a constructor by making a method, constructor method vehicle. Now this is a constructor which has some implementation, some kind of random thing like a red color car. You see? Now we have, which is defined in the superclass. Another thing what we have, it is your method, a method drive, which is a basic drive method. It's printing a message like driving. So in this code, you can see we are showing all the three possible ways, like by having a variable, super keyword used to prefer parent class instant variable, by invoking immediate parent class method, like that is drive, and to immediate parent class constructor, that is vehicle constructor. Now this is our superclass. Now let's have a subclass which is extended the vehicle, the parent class. Now this particular subclass or a child class also have a constructor. Now inside this constructor, I'm invoking my super method. That super constructor method is basically invoking the constructor of parent class. So that's what the concept of super keyword. Now next we see the use of using a invoke immediate parent class method, that is drive method. So you see void drive method. Here it will print driving Camry. Now next we need to have the instance variable, the super keyword used to instance variable. So here you can use super.color. So this color variable is being invoked from the superclass, the parent class. And in the main drive, you can just simply invoke that method in the main method. So this is how we can use the super. All what we are trying to do is having a reference variable by simply invoking and calling the name called super in the child class and accessing all the things which is available in the parent class. That will be more clear when we see actually a demonstration in detail. But for now, let's take a look and move on to this keyword. So super is all about the parent class. Now what is about this? This is a reference variable that refers to the current object. In case of this, we are using for the current class, working with the current class, the current object. It can be used to invoke or initiate current class constructor. It can be passed as an argument in the method call. Now there is a question, why do we need this when you are already working in a current object or current class? Now at some places, when we actually reassign the variable using constructor or some complicated way, we have to reassign it and using this keyword to make it more specific to the compiler. Now let's take a look at the uses of this keyword. This keyword can be used to refer current class instance variable. This keyword can be used to invoke current class method. Similarly, just like super, we can use to constructor, method, variables, and you can also even pass as an argument in a method call. Can constructor be passed as an argument in the call? And this can also used to return the current class instance from a method. Now let's take a look at one by one all these uses. But for now, just try to understand what is actually and what all the places best to use. So we have seen the vehicle, the example. We have a vehicle class. Inside that we have some variables and some method like wheels and gears. And there is something called set data, where we getting the values and setting it into the form, just like a getter and setter. This is one of the best example to understand about this. So what is happening here, if you see, we have some variables assigned, we have some variables declared in the vehicle class, wheels and gear. Similarly, we have a method set data which is passing the variable because we need to set it in the database. So we need to get the arguments too. And we have assigned the same variable. Now the confusion is for the compiler is this is the wheels or this is the wheels to assigned. So in that case, like we are getting the value and these are the values which we have to assign to these variables. Now which wheels is equal to which wheel? Now the question is this. The compiler is confused at this stage. To make it more clear, we are just using this keyword and wheels equals to wheels. Now in this way, what will happen? The compiler will see the current object or the current class or the current constructor and check with that and assign that value to this variable. So this is how this keyword is very useful in such applications. Okay, now let's take a look at the demonstration. So here the example is our vehicle registration form and we are getting the value from the user and putting it into the database. So for that, just we need to use the variables and see the demo of super and this keyword, how it works. So this is my Eclipse IDE and let's take a look and I'm just going to open. So this is my Eclipse IDE and I'm just opening a new class from one of my already open project. And the class name is this super vehicle demo. Now here, if you see, what we need to do first is having a class and defining the variable. For example, ID, vehicle ID. You can make it vehicle ID. And string your owner name. I'll just make it a lowercase instead of making it simple. Now, first thing we need to have a constructor because inside the constructor, this is what the constructor, like we have a method which is named on the class name. So let's have a constructor like this. But now this constructor, my design of this class is we are going to have this and super both keyword used in this application, and we are going to have the vehicle registration details. We are taking it and assigning it in some variables and displaying it. That's my objective of this class. So we are using this and super keyword and we are using the constructor. Now constructor is a method which is named on the class name and it's a special kind of method which create an instance implicitly. Now for my type of constructor, what I'm going to use here is called a parameterized. That means it has an argument. Or my argument is your ID and your owner name. So vehicle ID and owner name. Some vehicle owner name. Okay. And inside the body of this method, or I'm going to use just like this ID. Okay. So vehicle ID equals, it's itself showing it. So here the compiler will understand that this is the variable where we need to assign that value. You see? So this is how we use this keyword. Now next we need to create a subclass which is extending this superclass. So subclass, I'm going to use a car which is extends your this vehicle class. I just gave the different name, that's why it's. And inside this, I'm going to add one more value, is called price. So here we need to have another constructor of this class which has just like that. We need to have the arguments. So a car ID and the string name of the person, and the one more parameter is called price. Now inside this constructor, what we need to do is we have to call super. That means your super constructor, which has the value of your vehicle ID and your name, owner name. And I think it's supposed to be ID. This one, okay. So reusing the parent constructor, and once this is done, we have to add your price parameter too. So price information we need to add. So for that, equals price. And once this is done, so your constructor and the subclass is ready. Now next we need to constructor is ready. Next step, we need to display the information. So for that, void display, and we're just getting the value ID plus owner name price. We can have vehicle name. Now another class we need to use which has the main class. So that is your a third class called test, and inside that so here we first create an object of the child class, subclass child class C1. C new car constructor, and we are passing the arguments 1 Mercedes, and the value is 45555, some variable, some data. Now this argument will be passed and will display to your so let's do one thing. Instead of this class, this is our main class, so we'll add this one here, and we'll just give the class name vehicle here, and this vehicle will further be use the same vehicle over here, and this is extra closing termination, and here we need to have another. Is there any other error? The car, this car is already defined. Okay, the thing is car class is already defined somewhere, so it's creating an error, so I just fix it. It's okay. Another error is this one. Let me see, what is it? Vehicle must be defined in its own file. Premium vehicle. Is it okay now? So you can see now what we've done. we have the premium vehicle class, and it's not a public, it's a regular class which has a constructor and some parameters, and which is extended to premium car. And so you see the value is displayed here. Now if you see the code, what is happening here, we have the premium vehicle public class, premium class which has ID and owner name. Now this is a super class which has a constructor, and that constructor passing the parameter ID and owner name. We are assigning the variables using this keyword and using the current object. Now the premium car is extended to the premium vehicle, and this car had one more feature, one more data is called float price. Constructor having 3 parameters, vehicle ID, name and price, and the super constructor is invoking the super class object and their values and assigning that parameter. So they are taking the values from this class and super class, and then adding one more thing is inside this is called this dot price equals to price. Now displaying the ID, owner name and price, and in the main method we are simply calling the class the subclass, the child class, you see, and that creating an object and passing the constructor and passing the parameters, all the values, ID, name and your method, and that is going to be displayed. So you can see the execution. So this is all about the this and super demonstration. Important facts for super. Super keyword can be used to refer immediate parent class instance variable, that can be used to invoke immediate parent class method, and can be used to invoke immediate parent class constructor. This is also added in each class constructor automatically by compiler if there is no super or this. This keyword is in Java is a reference variable that refers to the current object. It can be used to refer current class instance variable. It can be used to invoke or initiate current class constructor, can be passed as an argument in the method call, can be passed as an argument in the constructor call, can be used to return the current class instance, and this is a reference to the current object whose method is being called upon. This keyword is to avoid naming conflicts in the method constructor of your instance object. So in short, if you see, this and super helps you to invoke and call the reference variable for the current class object and the parent class object with respect to the reference of variable, calling method and invoking the constructor of respective classes. Homework. Now, as we were doing about the vehicle registration form, what you can do using getter and setter method implementation using this and super keyword to call methods from parent class. So we have used ID and name and price. You can add more features like automatic or manual car or class B drive or many other features you can add in your form and get the value from the user and use and practice this and super keyword. For any further questions and references, assistance and source code, please feel free to contact techranch2019@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting feature session. Stay tuned. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.